In the 1970s, you could buy a new home in Indianapolis for $20,000 and still afford a milkshake at Dog and Suds afterward. Avocado appliances, booming factories, and Friday night crowds made the city feel safe, proud, and endlessly familiar. But beneath all that comfort, fault lines were shifting. Why did some families thrive while others slipped through the cracks? The answer starts at the front porch. A 3-bedroom ranch in Lawrence or Beech Grove with an attached garage and a postage stamp yard could be yours for under $25,000. Most of these homes were built after the interstate loop opened in 1970, letting families settle farther from downtown and still make it to work on time. Inside, the kitchen glowed with avocado green appliances, Frigidaire, or Hot Point if you wanted the good stuff. Burnt orange shag carpeting muffled every footstep, and the basement rec room was the place for birthday parties, complete with a wood-paneled wet bar for the grown-ups. On summer evenings, the front porch called everyone outside. Neighbors swapped stories over iced tea while kids chased lightning bugs until the streetlights flickered on. Air conditioning was a luxury, so open windows and box fans were the norm. In these houses, you knew the people on either side of you by name, and the sound of a screen door slamming was just part of the rhythm of home. Everyday life in an Indianapolis home in the 1970s buzzed with gadgets that felt modern at the time. The color television, usually a Zenith or RCA, sat front and center in the living room, drawing the family together for evening shows on ABC, NBC, or CBS. Kids argued over who got to turn the big chrome dial, and the antenna on the roof was always a little crooked from the last thunderstorm. In the kitchen, a rotary phone hung on the wall, sunflower yellow or olive green, its cord stretched across the room as teenagers whispered secrets late into the night. 8-track players were the pride of any family car, with tapes of the Jackson 5 or the Eagles stacked in the glove box, ready for a cruise down Keystone Avenue. Birthdays and backyard cookouts meant someone would pull out the Polaroid camera, snapping instant photos that developed right in your hand. On the hottest nights, box fans hummed in every window, and sometimes you would drag a mattress to the porch just to catch a breeze. Friday nights in Indianapolis meant piling into the car and heading out, no matter your age or side of town. The Vogue on College Avenue pulled in crowds with live bands and the kind of dancing that left your shoes sticky by midnight. If you had kids, the drive-in was the destination, Dog and Suds or the Twin Air. The station wagon tailgate popped open, popcorn passed from hand to hand, and double features flickered across the windshield. Woodland Bowl stayed busy until late. The crash of pins and the smell of rented shoes mixed with laughter from league regulars. Every August, the Indiana State Fair transformed the city into a swirl of livestock barns, demolition derbies, and the sweet haze of funnel cake oil. For dinner, families filled trays at MCL Cafeteria or Laffner's, where the Jell-O came in every color and the roast beef was carved to order. These were the places where you saw co-workers, classmates, and cousins, where the city felt like one big extended family. Indianapolis in the 1970s lived and breathed sports. Every May, the city pulsed with the roar of engines as the Indianapolis 500 took over. Memorial Day weekend felt like a holiday of its own, with parades, cookouts, and the kind of traffic jam that only the world's biggest single-day sporting event could create. The Speedway wasn't just a racetrack, it was a point of pride, a place where families camped out and neighbors cheered for their favorite drivers, rain or shine. But it wasn't all racing. Basketball was woven into the city's DNA. High school gyms overflowed on Friday nights, none more famous than Hinkle Fieldhouse, where crowds of 10,000 or more packed the stands for tournament games. In 1979, the city buzzed with talk of Larry Bird, the kid from French Lick, leading Indiana State to the NCAA finals. His rise gave every Hoosier kid with a backyard hoop a new hero. Basketball wasn't just a sport. It was a social event, a chance to see friends, neighbors, and sometimes rivals all in one place. Behind the scenes, civic leaders chased bigger dreams. Mayor Richard Lugar, followed by Bill Hudnut, spent late nights in City Hall meeting rooms, sketching out plans for a downtown stadium. The Hoosier Dome was more than just blueprints and bond issues, it was a bet on the city's future. Hudnut's handwritten notes from 1977 talk about drawing a map for bigger ambitions. By the end of the decade, the groundwork was laid for Indianapolis to become more than a racing town. The city was ready to chase the big leagues, even before the Colts ever packed up their Mayflower vans. A paycheck from RCA or Western Electric in 1974 could stretch a long way. A factory worker, most likely a union member, brought home $12,000 to $15,000 a year, enough to cover the mortgage on a $20,000 ranch, keep the fridge stocked, and even save a little for a family trip to Brown County or the Dunes. Gas hovered around 50 cents a gallon, so filling up the Impala or the pickup did not pinch too hard. Groceries for a family of 4 cost about $200 a month, with milk at $1.20 a gallon and bread under 40 cents a loaf. Friday nights meant maybe $15 at Steak and Shake or bowling, and nobody thought twice about treating the kids to a movie at the Circle Theater downtown. On the factory floor, the work was steady but demanding. Shifts started before sunrise, the air thick with the hum of assembly lines and the smell of machine oil. Unions like UAW and IBEW kept wages fair and jobs stable, at least for a while. Most families could afford a color TV and a used car, and even the occasional splurge on a dinner at St. Elmo's. But by the middle of the decade, the first cracks started to show. The 1973 oil crisis brought long lines at gas stations on Keystone and Meridian, with prices shooting up to 65 cents and rationing rules that limited each driver to 10 gallons. Factory layoffs followed, and the certainty that had defined blue-collar life in Indianapolis began to feel less solid. The promise of a job for life was starting to slip away, even if most folks did not want to believe it yet. Unigov took effect in 1970. Overnight, Indianapolis ballooned from a city of 82 square miles to more than 400. Suddenly, neighborhoods that once felt like distant suburbs, like Castleton, Lawrence, and Beech Grove, were all part of the same city. The new city limits did not just redraw maps. They changed where people lived, shopped, and spent their time. Interstate 465 finished that same year, wrapped around the whole county like a belt, and it made it easy for families to leapfrog downtown and settle on the edges. Developers rushed to buy up farmland along the new exits, turning cornfields into subdivisions and strip malls almost as fast as the ink dried on zoning permits. Castleton Square Mall opened in 1972, drawing shoppers away from Monument Circle with its bright lights and endless parking. Washington Square followed in 1974, and soon downtown department stores started to shutter. Small business owners in places like Fountain Square watched their regulars vanish, their lunch counters and hardware stores emptying out as the crowds moved north and east. By the end of the decade, some streets that once bustled on Saturdays felt quiet, their windows papered over, while the big malls on the edge of town filled up with weekend traffic and the promise of something new. Not everything about life in the 1970s in Indianapolis fit the picture of porch lights and Friday night ball games. For thousands of families, school mornings started before sunrise, with kids climbing aboard yellow buses for rides that could last nearly an hour. Court-ordered busing sent black students from neighborhoods near Crispus Attucks to distant township schools, while white families watched their own routines unravel, sometimes meeting the change with protests or with quiet resignation. In the halls at Shortridge and Northwest, friendships formed across lines, but so did tensions, fistfights, long silences, and PTA meetings that stretched late into the night. The city's rivers paid their own price for progress. In 1972, a fish kill on the White River left the banks littered with silvery bodies, the result of unchecked factory runoff. By summer, warnings went out, "Don't fish, don't swim." Crime crept up on the Near East Side and the Near West Side, with break-ins and violence rising by 20%. Some neighbors locked their doors for the first time. Others wondered if the promise of steady jobs and safe streets was slipping away, replaced by a sense that not everyone shared in the city's good fortune. Affordable homes, close-knit neighborhoods, and blue-collar pride once defined Indianapolis. Today, the median home price tops $250,000, and old factories are condos. The soul of a city is not in its skyline, but in the stories we choose to remember. What memories will tomorrow's Indianapolis hold? Share yours below. In the 1970s, Charlotte was not yet the banking superpower you know, but it was erupting with ambition. A 40-story tower raced skyward as Hugh McCall seized control at NCNB, and 30% more people poured in, chasing new dreams. How did a quiet mill town ignite this transformation, reshaping not just its skyline but the lives of everyone who called it home? The answers reveal a city at a crossroads, rich with opportunity and conflict, if you know where to look. Cranes dotted the skyline as steel and glass rose above Tryon Street, reshaping Charlotte's heart. In 1974, the NCNB Plaza opened its doors, a 40-story tower that dwarfed everything around it. For the first time, Charlotte had a true skyscraper, a sign that the city was ready to play in the big leagues. At the center of this ambition stood Hugh McCall, just 39 years old when he took the helm as president of North Carolina National Bank. McCall brought a military discipline to the boardroom, pushing his team to think bigger, move faster, and outmaneuver rivals. He believed Charlotte could be more than a regional footnote. Under his leadership, NCNB began snapping up smaller banks, building relationships across the South, and luring top talent with the promise of upward mobility and a fresh start. The culture inside those glass towers was sharp-edged and restless, button shirts, tight deadlines, and a sense that anything was possible if you worked hard enough. First Union, the other rising giant, watched every move, fueling a friendly but fierce competition that brought new energy downtown. For Charlotte's young professionals, a banking job meant better pay and a path to something greater. The city's growing confidence showed in every new office, every busy lunch spot, every family looking for a home close to the action. The skyline was not just about architecture, it was a promise that Charlotte's best days were still ahead.